Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. We recently looked at the prices of some of the most affordable starships in the galaxy, for those of you looking for opportunities abroad but lack the capital to get a brand new starfighter. Today we'll be starting a series that looks at the prices of various starfighters of various military factions in Star Wars, starting off with the Rebel Alliance Starfighter Corps. This is a unique military force almost completely privately funded by activists and wealthy patrons. They face a difficult situation and are growing up against one of the most powerful military forces in the history of the galaxy, the Imperial Navy. The rebellion has no real chance to win against the Empire in a straight-up slugfest, and so it relies on a state-of-the-art Starfighter Corps, which is both mobile and able to operate independently from a larger fleet. When the Empire began nationalizing major industries like the shipbuilding industry, some mid-sized companies like Income Corporation actually protested. Income Corporation was known for developing sleek and formidable snub fighters like the Z-95 Headhunter and the larger ARC-170 Starfighter. A good number of Income's design and engineering staff would actually defect to the Rebel Alliance once they realized their company would be producing ships for the Galactic Empire. The T-65B X-Wing, as it was called, was really just a prototype, originally designed to be a multi-purpose mainline starfighter. However, it did not fit into the Empire's mass-produced cheap starfighter doctrine. The T-65B was anything but cheap. It had state-of-the-art shields, power plant, armor, Class 1 hyperdrive, and enough firepower to carry out attacks on capital ships. It was a well-balanced, one-size-fit-all solution for the Rebel Alliance's ragtag guerrilla force. And because Income volunteered all of their research and blueprints for free, the rebellion more or less produced these ships at cost in small home manufacturing operations. Although the X-Wing did not enjoy the price cut of being mass-produced, these starships were still remarkably cheap at around only $150,000 in credit. By the way, as stated in previous videos, we've calculated the cost of the Galactic credit to be nearly 1-to-1 with the US dollar. Ultimately, the X-Wing ends up costing nearly 3 times more than the TIE Fighter, but the Rebel Alliance is a lot shorter on pilots than it is on credits. But before we continue today's video, a word from our sponsor, Extra. This is one of the first debit cards out there that actually allows you to build your credits and collect reward points like you would with a credit card. It's perfect for individuals who don't want or cannot get access to a credit card yet, but want to have their spending reported to the credit bureaus for future loan applications or mortgages. Extra can be linked up to your existing bank account and requires no credit check. It works by spotting you funds every time you make a purchase and then auto-paying themselves back the next business day from your connected bank balance. It's perfect for new immigrants without credit in America and also individuals trying to rebuild their credit. Applying is easy. Just check out the link below in our description and replace your debit card with one that actually rewards you for using it. Designed by Income Corporation, the UT-60D U-Wing was a transport gunship utilized by the Rebel Alliance. Despite their larger wingspan and impressive S-foil, the U-Wing was actually quite small compared to other ships in its class. It can only carry about a single Rebel rifle squad on board, but it was sleek, fast, and maneuverable for its class. It could also be used for infantry fire support and at the same time do some light dogfighting. For a ship of its size and quality, though, the U-Wing was remarkably underpriced at around just 65,000 credits per unit. This might be because of the UT-60D's more civilian origin, which can be seen in the BT-45D U-Wing variant. Built by Quad Systems Engineering, the RZ-1A Wing is an interceptor with its roots stemming from the Clone Wars era. Specifically, the wedge-shaped interceptors utilized by the Jedi Order like the Delta-7 Ether Sprite or the ETA-2 Actus. These were light interceptors that were stripped down in armor and shielding and designed solely for speed and maneuverability. The A-Wing builds on the lessons learned by Quad Systems Engineering during the war and represents the pinnacle in speed and interception capability. The RZ-1A Wing was rejected by the Empire because of cost. Ironically, the Rebel Alliance would be one of the earlier adopters of this light interceptor, and it would ultimately cause such a huge headache for the Empire that they would need to develop their own interceptor as a result. This new TIE interceptor cost more than double the standard TIE fighter, but still was slower than the A-Wing. Now, the A-Wing focused purely on speed. I mean, half of this thing was just a pair of oversized Novel Dex J77 Event Horizon engines. which really had no business being stuck onto such a tiny space frame. But the A-Wing also had powerful lasers, and it could even carry proton torpedoes. Some A-Wing pilots would even modify their ships and remove the shields to increase the speed even more. Although these guys also say that the shields are really light on the A-Wing and don't really do that much in the first place. At 175,000 credits per unit, this A-Wing was more expensive than the X-Wing and had a lot more limitations. And only talented X-Wing pilots were even given a chance to fly the A-Wing because it was just that difficult to fly. The T-47 airspeeder is another Incom Corporation product, and it exists within the Incom ecosystem when it comes to control systems. And so the T-47 handles just like the T-16 and even the T-65B X-Wing. It's actually really brilliant that Incom is able to do this, and their large and loyal fan base seems to point towards the success of creating this type of shared ecosystem. If you look at the Battle of Hoth, a group of X-Wing pilots were able to quickly transition to snow speeders and pilot them successfully against a group of AT-ATs. The T-47 was mainly built for atmospheric flight, and they were pretty lightly equipped, but they only cost around 18,000 credits per unit. It took a while for the Rebels to start manufacturing the X-Wing, and while the T-65B played a huge role at turning the tide against the Empire at Scarif and Yavin 4, for all the years before that, all the Rebellion basically had were the RZ-1 A-Wings and another ship, the Y-Wing. The Y-Wing was a Clone Wars era ship, and the Rebellion liked it so much that they had their own modification designated the BTLA-4 Y-Wing variant. This was just a Y-Wing with its engine nacelles removed for easier access during maintenance. This also lightened the craft's weight and shortened the length of the craft so that the aging Konasair R200 ion jets on this thing don't have to work too hard, especially in atmosphere. The rear gunner turret was also removed to save weight, plus it's not like the Rebels had enough pilots to spare to put back there in the first place. But what really made the Y-Wing such a favorite for the Rebellion, as we mentioned in our affordable ship list, is just how cheap it was. Oftentimes, you could find a Y-Wing that was in decent shape for only around 60,000 credits, around the same price as a TIE fighter, and much less than half the price of an X-Wing. Sometimes Rebel spec op groups would just steal Y-Wings from Imperial junkyards as well, so those were free basically. All you really need is an astromech, and they can basically jury-rig a slave controller and pilot a whole wing of Y-Wings by themselves. And so the Y-Wing might not be fast enough to really dogfight, they require a lot of maintenance as well, but they're rugged and can carry a lot of bombs. That's basically all you really need for an assault fighter. As well as the Y-Wing performed, the Rebel Alliance wanted more. A capital ship busting, blockade smashing super assault starship. This is where the B-Wing comes into play. Designed by Slain and Corporal, you can tell by the vertical alignment of the ship by the way, the B-Wing had a ridiculous amount of weaponry stationed on board, but the ship was as unwieldy as it was powerful, and it couldn't do anything well aside from flying in a straight line. It was also a difficult ship to fly because its cockpit was designed around a gyroscopic control system that was prone to being high maintenance. At a price of 222,000 credits, this was one of the most expensive starfighters fielded by the Rebel Alliance. So there you have it, guys. Those are the listed prices for most of the starfighters employed by the Rebel Alliance. Of course, these guys stole ships. They also used Clone Wars era ships, which we'll probably cover the price of those when we're actually doing the Republic. But let me know in the comment section below what you guys want to see next. Rebel Alliance capital ships, or should we go on to Imperial starfighters first? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.